Good morning. This is Muhammad Suleiman, Assistant Professor of Commerce, working at MBS Government Degree College, Autonomous, Mahbubnagar. Today, let us learn about Information Technology Act 2000 and its significance. As all of us know, that technology is changing the world faster, and the invention of computer is one among such developments that has changed the world a lot. And new inventions day in and day out are changing the lifestyle and the different processes that are being taken up every day in our life. Therefore, information technology is important, which has changed our lives and our thinking, and internet has provided a lot of opportunities for us to take up our daily activities and businesses. So in this situation, it is important for us to learn about Information Technology Act 2000. So now let us see the objectives of today's lesson. In today's lesson, we'll be able to learn introduction to the Information Technology Act 2000 and various definitions given in the act and essence of the act. Then we will be seeing about objectives of the Information Technology Act 2000. Then we will see about scope and application part. Then we'll be learning about the documents excluded from the scope of Information Technology Act, and then we'll be learning about the digital signatures. Then later on we will see what is electronic governance, and finally we will learn about the regulation of certifying authorities. So now let us move on and see all these topics one by one. So as mentioned earlier, the technological developments have made drastic change in the way people live and work. So information technology has opened new avenues for the business world, and the transmission of information from one place to another place is now happening within seconds. So the information can be sent from one country to another country or one place to another place in few seconds. Therefore, the availability of internet has facilitated the communication faster, and it has changed the way of business across the globe. Now a person sitting at his home can purchase the articles that he want uh, through internet by placing an order over the internet through his mobile phone or his laptop or a personal computer. Therefore, internet has developed as a vehicle for the purpose of commerce over internet or electronic commerce, which is popularly called as e-commerce. And business people or business houses are also adapting to this new change and doing their businesses electronically. Instead of using the traditional method, that is placing an order on paper, signing physically in the ink, and placing an order and receiving an order is now an old method. In this new world or in this new technology era, the businessmen are using computers in daily business transactions, and sometimes it has proved to be cheaper and easier method where the data is available in a repository wherein we can retrieve the data even after a long time to check the transactions. So, in this situation, it is important for us to learn how the Information Technology Act 2000 is enacted and what are the different regulations provided in the act. So now there are two main hurdles which are suppose or which come across in the businesses. The are the people face while taking up the transactions. First of all, it will be the requirement as to paper transactions or the signatures for the legal recognition of the transaction. So in this case, the Information Technology Act 2000 has provided all opportunities and recognize the transactions that happen over the internet as legal and valid transactions through which the business people and the customers can interact and do their business. Therefore, the digital world now has developed, and the Information Technology Act 2000 has provided cyber regulations and securities to the business people also. So now move on and see various definitions that have been provided in the Act. So there are many definitions that are available in the Act. A few important definitions have been collected here. So in this definition part, we will be seeing about data, digital signature, electronic record, information, subscriber, access, certifying authority, and key. First of all, let us see how data is defined in the Act. In normal situation, when we talk about data, it is nothing but it is a collection of facts and figures. It is collection of raw facts and figures. But in the Information Technology Act 2000, the data is defined in a different sense. It means a representation of information. It means a representation of information and some facts or concepts or instructions that are being prepared and that are prepared and stored or processed in a computer system or a network. For example, an internet or email or any other server. So here data means the information relating to the transmission of data from one end to another end, or the transmission of facts, figures or concepts from one end to another end, which is formal in nature and which is shared from one computer system to another computer system with a network or with an internet. So and this can be stored in a memory also. Then we will see about what is digital signature. So the term digital signature is defined in Information Technology Act in section 2 of P, and it means authentication of any electronic record by a subscriber through an electronic method. So earlier there used to be a physical signature or signature put in ink, wherein the signature used to be on paper, that is physical paper. But now the signature has been transformed into a digital one, and it is called digital signature. So which is called as authentication of any electronic record by a subscriber. So if any person or any official who wants to avail this facility, then he can put his signature digitally and authenticate the record that is available in an electronic form. And the provisions of section 3 of the Information Technology Act identify the digital signature, and in order to put one digital signature, the verifier must have the access to the signer's public key and have assurance that it corresponds with the signer's private key. So here we have two types of keys. One is private key, which is available with the subscriber, and one is public key, which can be used for the purpose of retrieving the data, or the receiver can use the public key for viewing the data electronically. Therefore, any person who wants to use digital signature shall have some basic facilities like internet or some communication network, and he shall have some electronic gadget like a laptop or a desktop computer or any other thing. So it involves two processes. One at the person who is signing digitally, and one at the receiver who is actually seeing the digital signature. Therefore, digital signature is nothing but it is authentication of electronic record. So now we have electronic record. So electronic record means data or record or any type of development like a file, a document, a sound or image that is either sent or received in one particular format from one end to another end. For example, a, an electronic certificate issued by some government agency may be viewed electronically by accessing the particular website or by accessing the particular URL. Therefore, electronic record is nothing but it is a record or data that is available at one particular location, and it is prepared and signed by some designated authority. Then we have information. So information is also described in the Information Technology Act 2000, and information includes data, text, images, and sometimes it may have some voice, it may have some computer programs, softwares, and it may have some databases or computer generated any information or file. Therefore, it is nothing but any form that is available over the internet digitally, that is either data, text, images, sound, or voice. Then we have subscriber. Subscriber means a person in whose name the digital signature certificate is issued. So, if the head of the institution of a college takes a digital signature certificate, then the head of the institution is called subscriber. Subscriber to the facility that he has taken for signing digitally on various certificates issued by the institution. And this definition is given according to section 2 of 1 of Information Technology Act. Then we have some more definitions, like we have access. So access is also defined in Information Technology Act 2000. So it means gaining entry into or entering into the resource of a computer or the resource of a data administrator, which provides an opportunity to the user to enter and to pass on the information or to view the information with a proper authorization. So access is nothing but it is a gaining entry into or instructing or communicating with the logical and arithmetical unit of a computer. Then we have one more definition, that is certifying authority. So a person who has been granted a license, to issue digital signature certificate under section 24 of Information Technology Act 2000 is called certifying authority. So as discussed earlier, if head of the institution of an educational institution takes digital signature authorization, then he will be called as a certifying authority. So take for example if one more official designated in the government has taken the authority, then he will be called as a certifying authority. Then we have one more definition, that is called key. So when we talk about key, key is important and crucial for the purpose of digital signature. Without a key, we cannot imagine about digital signature. So Information Technology Act recognizes the asymmetric crypto system. So Information Technology Act recognizes the asymmetric crypto system where two separate keys are required, one for encrypting the data and the other for decrypting the data. So when one person encrypts the data will be stored in the resource wherein the person who will decrypt the data can view the data. So for that purpose, a pair of key is required, that is one private key and one public key. So which are related, wherein a private key is used for is used by a subscriber for authorizing the electronic record, wherein the public key can verify the digital signature which has been created by a private key. So therefore, in order to create some digital record, a private key is required by a person who is actually authorizing or signing the document. So, in simple terms, the certifying authority will have the private key, and the person who is viewing the data will have public key, or the person who wants to view or take a printout of the digital signature shall have a public key. Therefore, private key is kept confidential and is used only by the subscriber to create some digital signature. So without this private key, the digital signature cannot be affixed or cannot be put on the electronic record. And the public key is nothing but it is widely known and is used as a instrument to verify the digital signature that is put by an official. Therefore, keys are of two types. One is private key and the other one is public key. So apart from this also there are some definitions provided in the act like electronic gazette, like intermediary, like originator, all these things are defined. So we can verify all these definitions provided in the act. Now let us move on and see the essence of the Information Technology Act 2000. The Information Technology Act 2000 is more important because it has addressed many issues. It has addressed many issues in the governance, and it has addressed many issues in e-commerce. So therefore, it covers many issues, and the following four issues can be treated as most important after the enactment of Information Technology Act 2000. So quickly let us see all those things one by one. First is legal recognition of electronic documents. So earlier, before the enactment of Information Technology Act 2000, this was not possible. Therefore, legal recognition of electronic documents is one of the most important feature of Information Technology Act 2000, which has recognized the electronic documents legally. Then second one, legal recognition of digital signatures. Earlier, before the development of digital signature, it was highly essential that an ink-signed copy of any proceeding or order issued by some official was required. Now, after the governance has been made electronic, or after e-governance, the digital signatures put by various officials are treated equally valid, and the legal recognition of digital signatures is made possible only because of the Information Technology Act 2000. So without which there was it was difficult for recognition of digital signatures legally. And third one, Information Technology Act deals with offenses, different offenses and contraventions. So when we use information technology, there is a possibility of some misuse also. So in case of misuse, how various offenses are to be treated and what is the mechanism in dealing with various offenses is also mentioned in Information Technology Act 2000. Then fourth important characteristics or essence of the act is justice dispensation system for cyber crimes. So this is most important because crimes happen over internet also. So such crimes are called cyber crimes. So in such a case, what is the justice dispensation system to the aggrieved party or the party who is put to loss? So in such system, the Information Technology Act provides proper mechanism for justice dispensation system for cyber crimes also. So after seeing the essence of the act, now let us move on and see the objectives of the Information Technology Act 2000. The Information Technology Act 2000 and its enactment is most important because for the first time, apart from facilitating the electronic trade, it also allowed the introduction of digital signatures. So with the introduction of digital signatures, the governance and the system of giving orders and various electronic documents has improved, and it has changed the total system. Therefore, cyber law is nothing but it is a field which involves many things like computers, like internet, and there are many issues such as intellectual property rights and freedom of expression, free access to information, and all. And we can proudly say that India is one among very few countries in order to have legislated cyber laws. So, with the enactment of Information Technology Act 2000 in October 2000, it gave legal sanctity to the efforts of e-commerce in the industry, and the business has started developing. And at the same time, there are a few issues that are to be addressed in respect of the cyber crimes. Therefore, let us see the objectives of Information Technology Act 2000. So, the first and foremost objective of Information Technology Act 2000 is to grant legal recognition to the transactions carried out through electronic data interchange. So, this is first and foremost objective because as the transactions carried out over internet do not have any physical signature or paper form, and all the transactions carried out over internet will have only electronic data. Therefore, it was required for recognizing the transactions carried out through internet or electronic data interchange. Therefore, the first and foremost objective of the Act was to grant a legal recognition to the transactions that are being carried out over electronic data interchange. And second one, to give a legal recognition to digital signatures. This is also most important because earlier there was a requirement for putting physical signatures, that is, ink signed copies were required. Now, with the enactment of Information Technology Act 2000, the digital signatures are treated equally valid on par with the physical signatures or ink signed copies. Therefore, this is a second objective which aims at giving legal recognition to digital signatures. Then third one, to facilitate electronic filing of documents with government departments. This is also most important. Earlier, there used to be submission of physical copies with various government departments like tax authorities, etc. Therefore, the enactment of Information Technology Act 2000 facilitated the electronic filing of documents. Nowadays, a lot of transactions that are being taken up with various stakeholders of the government departments are being done electronically, like filing of income tax returns and doing reconciliations of taxes like TDS. All these things are being done electronically now. Then we have one more objective, that is to facilitate electronic storage of data. This is also important because whenever there is a need, we have to retrieve the data back and we have to see the transaction or verify the transaction or view the transaction as per the need. Therefore, one more objective that is important here is to facilitate electronic storage of data. All the transactions that have been done over the internet or by using the information technology are to be stored. Then one more objective is to give legal sanction to electronic transfers between banks and financial institutions. So now this is happening nowadays as we go for transferring the funds electronically, either with the help of using online banking or with the help of NEFT or RTGS that is requested by the customers at the bank to transfer the funds from one place to another place, or electronic transfers that happen between one bank to another bank or one bank to other financial institutions. So it aims at providing legal sanction to electronic transfers between the banks and financial institutions. And apart from this, there are some other objectives like enabling or facilitating the use of e-commerce and providing equal treatment to the users of paper-based documentation and to the users of computer-based information. So now with the enactment of this Information Technology Act, there is no difference between the users of information, whether it is a transaction that is based on paper or it is a transaction that is based on computer-based information. Therefore, the aim of the act or the main purpose of the act is to promote efficient delivery of government services by means of reliable electronic records, wherein the electronic data is stored for a long time, wherein the data can be retrieved back and the information can be seen. So these are the objectives of the act. Now let us move on and see the scope and application of the act. Now let us see the scope and application of the Information Technology Act 2000. So the Information Technology Act 2000 extends to the whole of India and has been made effective from 17th October 2000. So with the enactment of Information Technology Act on 17th October 2000, all the transactions that happen with the help of electronic data interchange are covered under the Information Technology Act 2000. And one important point in this act is it is applicable to any offense or contravention made under this act even outside India also. So by any person irrespective of the nationality. For example, a foreign national commits some offense and even though if he is not an Indian, this act is applicable upon him, but the condition is the offense should involve a computer or a network or a computer system that is located in India. For example, if a computer system is located in Mumbai and a foreign national commits an offense, so in this case also the Information Technology Act 2000 is applicable to him even though he is not an Indian citizen, because the Information Technology Act 2000 is applicable and is effective in India on the data of an offense, and the computer system that is situated in Mumbai is involved in it. Therefore, the important the thing that has to be noted regarding the Information Technology Act 2000 is it extends to entire India and is effective from 17th October 2000. So this act consists of 13 chapters that are divided into 94 sections, and it has covered all those things and amendments that have been made in Indian Penal Code 1860 and Indian Evidence Act 1872 and Bankers Evidence Act 1891 and Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. So this act has got 4 schedules and amendments in respect of all these 4, that is Indian Penal Code, Indian Evidence Act, Bankers Evidence Act and Reserve Bank of India. Therefore, the act is applicable to the entire country and is enforced from 17th October 2000. So now let us see the documents which are excluded from the scope of the Information Technology Act 2000. So there are some documents which are excluded from the scope of the Information Technology Act because of some reasons. Therefore, let us see what are those documents that have been excluded from the scope of the Act. So the documents that have been mentioned excluded are negotiable instruments, a power of attorney, a trust, a will, and sale or conveyance of immovable property. So now let us see one by one. First, let us learn about negotiable instruments. So negotiable instrument means it is an instrument which could be a promissory note or a bill of exchange or a check payable either at the order or to the bearer. So negotiable instruments can be transferred by delivery in case of a bearer instrument and by endorsement in case of others. Therefore, negotiable instruments represent money. Let us take an example. Mr. X issues a check to Mr. Y. So Mr. Y can encash that check on demand because it represents money. Or for example, a check issued is dishonored, then the payee can proceed for filing a criminal case against him in a court under section 138 of the Negotiable Instruments Act. So in case he wants to invoke or in case he wants to use the provisions of section 138, he has to produce the bounced check along with his complaint in the court of law. Therefore, the Act has excluded the negotiable instruments because of the reasons, because of the requirements that are needed for the purpose of producing in the court of law. Therefore, negotiable instruments are excluded from the Information Technology Act 2000. Then, second one, the power of attorney is also excluded from the scope of Act. So, power of attorney is an instrument empowering the specified or a specific person to act for and in the name of the person who executes it. For example, if Mr. A executes the power of attorney in favor of Mr. B, then Mr. B can use his power of attorney to act on behalf of on behalf of Mr. A. And Section 33 of Indian Registration Act mentions that if principal at the time of executing the power of attorney resides at any part in the country, that is in India, a power of attorney executed before and authenticated by the district registrar or sub-registrar within whose the district or sub-district the principal resides will be recognized as the power of attorney for registration of documents by an agent. Therefore, the power of attorney requires the signature or endorsement or attestation, and it is not possible to get attestation in normal cases for an electronic record. So in electronic record it is not possible to get an attestation in the required manner. Therefore, due to the requirement of attestation in the power of attorney, the instrument of power of attorney is excluded from the scope of Information Technology Act 2000. Otherwise, there might have been a possibility of including this, but because of the requirement of attestation, the power of attorney has been excluded. Then we have one more thing, that is a trust. So a trust can be created by a will or by a person at his desire. So if the trust is created by a will, the will requires attestation. So the person creating a trust would need to give his assent in the form of attestation. Therefore, due to the requirement of attestation, as attestation is not possible through electronic means, the transactions related to trust are excluded from the Information Technology Act 2000. As a trust can be formed only by putting attestation, the will requires attestation. Therefore, the formation of trust is excluded from the Information Technology Act 2000. Then one more thing that is excluded is a will. A will requires attestation by at least two persons or two witnesses as the will is executed. Therefore, if a will is executed by means of electronic record, it may not be possible to get the attestation of two witnesses. So, as the witnesses are required to put signature, it would be difficult for the person who is executing a will to get attestation of the witnesses physically on an electronic record. Therefore, the formation or executing a will is excluded from the scope of the Information Technology Act. And one more thing that is excluded from the scope of Information Technology Act is sale of immovable property. So any contract for either sale or conveyance of immovable property requires attestation. Therefore, the applicability of Information Technology Act 2000 is not possible in case of sale or conveyance of immovable property, as it requires attestation by the person who is executing it and requires signature of at least two witnesses. So as it is not possible to put signatures electronically by the witnesses and attestation by the person who is actually executing the deed, therefore a sale or conveyance of immovable property is excluded from the scope of Information Technology Act 2000. So now let us move on and see the the concept of digital signature here. So in the earlier time also we discussed about digital signature, but here let us talk something more about the concept of digital signature here. When we go through the Information Technology Act 2000, we can see that Chapter 2 of the Information Technology Act gives legal recognition to electronic records and digital signatures. So it contains only Section 3, which deals with authentication of electronic records. And the digital signature is nothing but it is an electronic analog of a written signature. So as we can see, a written signature or a physical signature on a paper, in the same fashion we can see the signature in an electronic form. So the same signature is scanned and the same signature is affixed on an electronic record that is available in the resource of the particular subscriber. Therefore, it is nothing but it is an electronic analog of a written signature. So digital signature means authentication of electronic record by a subscriber by means of some electronic method or some procedure by using a private key. So it is nothing but it is a signature that has been created in different steps. Therefore, the use of a key by the subscriber will help in affixing the signature digitally, and after signing the document which is digitally signed freezes the electronic record and thus ensures the integrity of the content of the record that has been prepared or signed by the subscriber. So any tampering with the contents of the electronic signature will invalidate the digital signature immediately. So therefore, when the digital signature is affixed on electronic record, it is valid so long as it is when it is not tampered. If it is tampered, then it will immediately invalidate the digital signature, and the digital signature can be viewed or the record can be viewed by accessing to the particular resource. Therefore, the use of digital signature has become popular nowadays, and the Information Technology Amendment Bill, which was introduced in the year 2008, has changed the heading of the digital signature to electronic signature. So now the term electronic signature is now used synonymously with the term digital signature. Therefore, digital signature is nothing but it is an electronic analog of a written signature, and the private key and the public key are unique to the subscriber and constitute a functioning pair of key, and any person by the use of a public key of the subscriber can verify the electronic record. So the verification of electronic record can be done with the help of the public key, and the person who is signing the document electronically will make use the public key. So this was something about digital signature. Now let us move on and see about the concept of electronic governance. So the concept of electronic governance it is nothing but the procedure to be followed for sending and receiving of electronic record, and the time and the place of the dispatch and the receipt. So it involves many concepts. There are a lot of concepts in electronic governance which is aimed at good governance, and various steps that are to be followed from time to time. So the important features that are there in electronic governance are: first one, legal recognition of electronic records. As the objectives of the Information Technology Act mention, the legal recognition of electronic records is important here. Section 4 of the Information Technology Act deals with legal recognition of the electronic records and provides that whereby any law requires that any information or matter should be in the form of a typed one or in the form of a printed form, then such requirement shall be deemed to be satisfied if such information is provided in an electronic form, and it is accessible so as to be usable for the subsequent reference. So in order to provide legal recognition to electronic records, there are two main requirements. First one, it should be made available in the electronic form, and second one, it shall be easily usable or accessible for reference and verification. Then we have legal recognition of digital signatures. Section 5 of the Act deals with the legal recognition of the digital signatures as a substitute for handwritten signatures. It provides that whereby any law requires that information or document to be authenticated by signature, such requirement shall be deemed to have been satisfied with digital signature, and the digital signature is affixed in the prescribed manner wherein the person can access the document and see the digital signature affixed on the document. Then we have one more thing, that is use of electronic records and digital signatures in government and its agencies. So section 6 deals with this, and the section 6 lays down the foundation for the purpose of electronic governance. So the filing of any form, application or other document, or creation or retention of any other documents is dealt according to the provisions of section 6 here, wherein the government offices and its agencies use the means of electronic form of information or documents in the appropriate manner. And one more thing that is important here is retention of electronic records. So section 7 provides for the retention of electronic records for information, and shall be retained for a specified period as it is deemed to be important. Therefore, the information remains accessible and usable for a subsequent reference in future also. Therefore, electronic governance aims at legal recognition of electronic records and digital signatures, and use of electronic records by the government and its agencies, and retention of electronic records. So now let us move on and see the regulation of certifying authorities. So we have various certifying authorities here and they are regulated properly. We have a controller of certifying authorities, and we have cyber regulations appellate tribunal, and we have cyber regulations advisory committee. Therefore, the retention of electronic records and regulation of certifying authorities is important according to the Information Technology Act 2000. Thank you.